You know, in the world of tech, when you pay the big bucks, you get luxury tech. I know I'm standing in front of one of the most expensive luxury sports SUVs in the market, an absolute beauty, the Range Rover Autobiography. But since we're on tech today, let's talk a little bit about the Apple Watch Ultra. Look, the video is all about this and the tech in this vehicle, but just to give you some perspective, tech which is really expensive today, 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years down the line, and it happens even sooner, especially with smartphones, comes to much cheaper devices over time. But the tech is there because the R&D is there with all the top tech companies in the world. For instance, the Apple Watch, great tech, is quite an aspirational product, lasts for 18 hours on a single charge. Very irritating to have to strap it back on to the charger. The Apple Watch Ultra costs double the money and gives you double the battery time. So clearly tech companies have the wherewithal and the resources, but you've got to shell out the big bucks. So if you can shell out over 3 crores, lo and behold, the Range Rover Autobiography. Yes, this is available in India and you will see a few, especially in the metro cities. But what I want to tell you about this particular vehicle is the tech on display and why it fascinates us as much as most top luxury EVs on the show. And maybe forward-looking, the next 5 years, we're going to see this sort of tech in a lot more cars. Come, let's get inside. Put on your seatbelts because this is going to be an electric ride. You know, of late, we've been so worried about AQI levels. It's been polluted, not just in Delhi, but also here in Mumbai. On some days, the weather's been off. Climate change is here to stay, unfortunately. But if you are in such an expensive vehicle, we've seen air purification systems all over in many vehicles. Sometimes a lot of cars here in India have a small little purification device over here as well. But look, a lot of them are gimmicks. In fact, even in some of the luxury EVs we've had, we've not found it to be truly purifying, if I can say that. Over here, the Range Rover does have this function, which is kind of interesting, especially if you're out on a road trip. And so the minute you go into the air purification function, it tells you what the exterior PM 2.5 is. Right now in Mumbai, where we are, it's crossed 100, which is maybe better than a few metro cities, but still it is not very good, as you can see. It's somewhere in between good and hazardous, so not the best. But you see, as this ionization, CO2 and purification buttons have been switched on, and as you can see, it's already started purifying the cabin. If we drive for the next half an hour, you'll see that this comes down to nearly single digits. And honestly, it's already gone down by one more. When you enter this particular cabin, it does feel a lot lighter, a lot more breezy, a little bit like the Dyson Zone that we tried out in Malmesbury, a little bit like a really good aeroplane. But honestly, if you're going to be in the car for long periods of time, this is a feature that we hope comes across the JLR lineup, and more importantly, other manufacturers can do this as well. So it's the tech of today on Tech Today, but this is also going to be the tech of tomorrow. And that's the point we're trying to make. Now, it's quite common nowadays to have a rear wiper, but the issue there is when the fluid collects near the rear camera, it can hamper your parking abilities and how you reverse with the car. No matter how cool the tech is, you can see that there are drops of water all around there. So the Range Rover wants to do things differently, and here's a tech feature that you mustn't miss. The minute you turn the reverse camera on, there's a button right here in the center in between 3D and the speaker volume button, and you click on this and wait for the magic to happen. It's like you're pressing rewind, and it is cleaning the area around the rear camera. And just like that, in a matter of minutes, I have a clear view, which you can see right now, and I'm all set to reverse in the Range Rover Autobiography. Another really nifty feature here in the Range Rover is the cameras. There's cameras galore, even up in the tail fin. And of course, in the rear and 360 degrees, you can get a 3D representation of the car. Look, this stuff is available in a lot of top-end cars. But the cool thing is the front camera, which gives you this high resolution front display of what is coming, what obstacles are coming in your path. Even the headlights can actually detect, I think, 16 different objects in terms of how they actually project onto the street. in front of you. But if you're in this particular mode, and we've taken the car on road trips, we've figured out how driving the Range Rover can be quite an interesting experience even off-road. This camera really helps you. If there are any obstacles there, you don't even need a guide to tell you all about it because you know what's coming up ahead of you. Yes, it's really high up. You're sitting maybe in a skyscraper here in the Range Rover, but the visibility is great, at least off the bonnet. Now, what is ahead of the bonnet? Because you are quite high up, that can be quite concerning. So this helps you in a lot of ways. One more thing I want to show you guys, if you hit the right button before I show you the next camera, and I can actually, once I close the door, go to access mode, and this will then lower the car to access height. I can come to normal mode and the car comes to normal height. I can go to 2 off-road settings where the car is lifted up. I can put it on off-road where of course the ride height changes and it's really high up. Now this is only the access modes in the car, and whilst I'm in it, you can see the air suspension moving me up and down, or maybe the stabilization on the camera is great. So you might just have a very tall passenger there behind you, and then this seems like so commonplace, right? So what do? You flick the switch, and that's the rear view in 4K, some really high resolution, and you can obviously adjust the brightness on this if you want to reduce it, saying, hey, this is a little too much for me on a sunny day, or you want to go up or down, adjust how this looks, and there you have it. A picture perfect moment from the rear of the car. This is something which even other manufacturers are trying now. Mahindra is doing it with the XUV 700 in certain variants, and it'll be great if we can see this in a lot of other SUVs, especially ones which are incredibly high off the ground. Well, what if you want to wash the front headlights whilst you're driving this expensive SUV? Apparently, you can do that at the flick of a button here in the Range Rover, and honestly, that's something I haven't seen on these type of vehicles ever before. I'm not just showing you those massive wheels, there's actually tech in those wheels as well and in and around the car. So much happening with the lights, but so much more happening with the sound system. Yes, it has a Meridian sound system, some brilliant speakers, but it's the first time that we've got noise cancellation in the headrest. Now, how does that work? The car actually assesses what kind of ambient sound there is, traffic or any screeching sounds on the outside, then adjusts the active noise cancellation levels in your seats. So when I get in and I sit in the Range Rover, the cabin's going to sound great, especially for the rear seat, the executive lounge seat, if I keep my head up against this headrest, which has all the active noise cancellation tech there is. So let me go at the back and tell you a little bit more about this, because honestly, if you're driving, you want to be alert, but if you're on the back seat, you want to be able to enjoy these business class, first class seats. You can lower the ski hatch, and I'm going to call it a ski hatch and not just an armrest because there's so much happening over here. A tech-loaded center console for the rear passenger. That's what I'm going to call it. Henceforth, it's been coined on tech today. If you press this neat little button out here, which seems to be something that resembles a cup holder, and there you go. It reveals this particular cup holder right here, and there you go. Well, what if it's a sunny day and you haven't put on enough sunscreen? So you want to put the blinds across out there so you have some sort of protection. That can be done here in the back seat. The minute I go on blinds and I just flick the switch right here, it's almost effortless. So this is pretty much one console where you can get all the work done. But these out here are screens for each passenger. And if you thought, okay, but I might disturb passenger B or the driver with it, then Range Rover has an answer for you as well, which is Land Rover branded headphones, wireless ones, brilliant sound quality. Put them on, connect HDMI 1, HDMI 2, put anything over here, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and well, shameless little plug, just switch on tech today and get to know the latest and greatest from the world of tech. Wherever we're traveling, we are always at ground zero. And sometimes we're sitting in luxurious seats like this. Sometimes we're in trains, sometimes we're in auto rickshaws. We do everything to bring you the best in tech. And you can do that here as well in the back seat. And just like that, this is going to be my preferred seat because now I can't complain about leg room. That guy's gone all the way ahead. And if you want, just if you want, you can also pull out the footrest and then you have an absolute business class experience in this particular vehicle. And this is of course purely for recreational and entertainment purposes. If you want this to be more utilitarian, and this looks like a big enough boot, obviously it cuts over here because this is not a pickup truck. Well, this is our standard equipment, right? A tech bag, a camera bag, some extra batteries, and most importantly, well, a getaway bag. And if you want to get a lot more boot space, all you got to do is flick these buttons and there you go, nearly flat, and you can fit maybe as much stuff as you have in a Mumbai home. Ironically, this car costs nearly as much as most expensive Mumbai homes. So there you go. Maybe a new avatar for all of us. Digital nomads maybe? Well, we'll see about that. The Range Rover Autobiography clearly has some mind-blowing tech and engineering on display, but it's not a cheap car. It comes at a very hefty price tag of 3.5 crore rupees. But my purpose of really getting this car on the show is because we know it has a lot of tech. But when you're paying the big bucks in 2022 or 2023, you're getting these sort of features. Just think about how tech evolves and really grows with time, and how this grows not just incrementally but monumentally and exponentially. When we had Blackberries, everyone thought QWERTY keypads were the norm, and then touchscreen phones came and people thought, well, who's going to use these? The iPhone changed that, Samsung came in with some great displays, and now we all talk to a sheet of glass essentially, right? That's what we've done with tech. Talk about these smart wearables. No one wanted to wear them a few years ago. Now traditional Swiss watchmakers are trying to become smart watches because they're trying to compete with the wearables that are on display and available from tech companies. This is the expensive tech in 2023. My bet is that on tech today, you've seen it, but this is the tech of tomorrow. In the next few years, maybe 3 to 5 years, you'll see a lot of these features on other SUVs across other brands and maybe sedans as well. And that's the beauty of it, right? Auto, tech, tech, auto. Since Elon Musk disrupted all of Detroit's automakers and that monopoly that they enjoyed, and EVs are becoming the norm. They are really, well, something that everyone wants a piece of that action. I really think that auto and tech have merged. It's big boy toys like this one that we will remember in the years to come, because this tech will be standard as tech of tomorrow. And remember, you saw it first here on Tech Today.